Guys, it's Fonzie with DipYourCar.com. Now, dipping your car is a very user-friendly experience. You don't have to have any previous painting experience to be able to dip your car for the first time and get a great end result. It's all about following the instructions. But let's be honest, there are some challenges that you can run into as a first-time dipper or even an intermediate level dipper that can give you some trouble through the project. Now, one of the biggest ones, one of the most common ones, is getting stripes or tiger stripes on the car when spraying the dip, specifically on the horizontal surfaces. So we're going to attack that challenge head on today. I'm going to show you how to avoid it. Enjoy the video. So there's two major things that we're going to focus on today. The first being the spray gun itself. If the spray gun is not set up properly, or if there's a problem with the spray gun, I don't care how good you are with the gun, how experienced you are with the dip, or how you spray it, you're going to have problems and you're going to get some tiger stripes. So we'll attack the gun setup first. Then it comes down to how you're actually spraying the product and your technique. That's what we'll handle a little bit later in the video. First, let me show you what I'm talking about with the gun. Now, this is the DYC spray gun. It can be paired with either the regular DYC turbine or the advanced turbine, which is what we use in all of our videos. But regardless of which turbine you're using, if the gun itself is not in good working condition, you're going to have problems getting a smooth, even end result. Now, what are we talking about with the gun? It all comes down to the spray pattern. Your spray pattern is supposed to be evenly weighted top and bottom, almost like a football shape. But again, same on the top, same in the middle, same on the bottom. If you have a top heavy or a bottom heavy spray system, meaning like a teardrop, really fat on top and thin on the bottom, or reverse of that, that's going to give you tiger stripes regardless of how you spray the coating. So I'm going to show you today what you can look for if you're actually getting a top heavy or bottom heavy spray pattern and how to fix it. Now, when you take the gun apart, the front air cap and this little air directional piece are going to come out, and you're going to be left with this brass piece and the fan selector in the center. Now, what you're looking to focus on is this brass piece and the circular space around the outside between the brass and this light gray plastic. What you want to see there is an even circular space around the entire brass piece. Most times when you have a top heavy or a bottom heavy spray pattern, the circular space around the brass is not even. It's probably closer to one side or the other. So what we're going to do is take out the fan selector, and you're going to grab something like a flathead screwdriver. And the best thing to do is you're going to put the screwdriver in, and you're going to just gently press on this brass piece, and you're trying to center it. So if it's too close to the top, you're going to go in, put the screwdriver on top, and gently press it, and apply some pressure, and push it a little bit further down. What you want to do after you apply that pressure is put the fan selector back on and check it again. Most times it only takes one or two little nudges to get it back in center. After it looks center, you put the gun back together, you check the spray pattern again. So we're going to go through this entire exercise together right now. Okay, so we've got some dip loaded up in the gun. Let's check the spray pattern. Now, as you can probably see, it's definitely not evenly weighted. There's a lot more product coming down here at the bottom of the spray fan. Now, if we sprayed, and you can even see this dark line through here, if we sprayed a hood right now, a horizontal surface, with the gun like this, we would definitely be getting some tiger stripes. So let's see what the position of the brass piece is like. So if you take a look at the brass piece and you look at the spacing between the brass and this lighter gray, you can see that it's much closer to the bottom than it is on the top. It's not an even space all the way around, and that's why we're getting that bottom heavy spray pattern. So let's adjust it. Just a little bit of pressure is needed. We'll check it again. Now it's better. We're going to nudge it a little bit more. There, now we've got a much more centered brass piece. The spacing around the brass is much more even. Let's put it back together and check the spray pattern again. Got a fresh new piece of paper. Let's check the spray pattern one more time. All right, this is much better. You've got that nice evenly weighted pattern, and as you can see, as we spray a little bit of a line here, there's nothing really heavy on the bottom, nothing really heavy on the top. Now we can go start talking about your spray technique. Now, when talking about how you're physically spraying the product, this is where it gets a little bit more complex. Now, first of all, when do you see tiger stripes? Well, primarily you're going to see them on horizontal surfaces, like the hood, the roof, or the trunk lid. And most of the time, they're going to come into play when using metallics, meaning either Performance Series colors, which are tinted colors that have metallics in them, or pearls in top coat over a base coat. Now, because most dippers are using Performance Series colors nowadays, that's what we're going to use in today's tutorial. However, the technique that we're talking about right now is perfectly applicable when spraying pearls in top coat too. It's the same exact technique. Now, when you're talking about dipping the surface of a car, one of the things that comes into play is you want to make sure you have a smooth, flat texture. Nobody wants a rough, kind of bumpy texture on their car. Now, most of you guys know the key to getting a smooth, flat texture is wet, overlapping coats. You want the dip to go on nice and wet so that it kind of pools together and then levels all flat. Instead of when you spray too light, the individual droplets get sprayed onto the car. They dry as individual droplets, and that's where you get the bumpy texture. But the problem is, most of the time when you get tiger striping, it's from spraying too wet, too close. When you spray too wet, too close, the product kind of channels together and creates these lines where the metallics all collect. And that's where you get those stripes of the metallics down the hood. So the question is, well, how am I supposed to spray nice and wet to get a flat surface if spraying too wet is what causes tiger stripes? Well, in order to spray wet, you don't necessarily have to spray close and heavy. You can spray with medium coats and still wet out the surface. It all comes down to how tight your overlaps are and how fast you're going. So for example, if I sprayed this hood really light like this, back and forth, and I'm not wetting out, I'm not going to get stripes with the pearls and metallics, but I'm going to get a bumpy texture. If I spray really close and I just pool the product up into channels back and forth, I'm not going to get texture, but I'm going to get pearl stripes or metallic stripes. So the key is, and we're going to demonstrate this for you full scale on the hoods, is I'm going to take the gun, and when I'm doing a hood, I'm going to keep a little bit of a distance, and I'm going to spray about a medium coat. However, I'm going to keep my overlaps so tight and keep my speed so slow that even though I'm spraying medium coats, little by little, I'm fully wetting out as I go. So it's not how heavy you go to wet out. You can wet out any way you want. As long as it wets out, it'll still dry flat. But the key is using those medium passes to wet out on the horizontal surfaces to avoid the tiger stripe. So I've got a bunch of hoods here set up with base coats. On one hood, I'm going to go in way too close, way too heavy, and show you how the product pools and channels up together and show you how we're going to get stripes, which a lot of you guys may have experienced. Then in the second hood, we're going to use the technique that I'm teaching you today and see if we can avoid those stripes altogether. So we've got our first test hood here. It's got a black base coat on it. And remember, we're going to be focusing on metallics in Performance Series today, but this is perfectly applicable if you're using pearls and top coat as well. One of the Performance Series that I think is more difficult to spray is the Frozen Blue, because the metallic size in Frozen Blue is so large, it has more of a tendency to pool together and give stripes. So we're using Frozen Blue today, using the Advanced DYC sprayer. Let's spray our first couple coats down using the incorrect technique. Okay, our coat is dry, and how did we do? Well, as expected, it's Stripe City, USA. We've got lots of stripes. You can see where all of our passes were. You can see all those light and dark channels where the metallics pooled together and where they didn't pool together. And this is exactly what's going to happen if you try to lay the product nice and wet on horizontal surfaces to make it smooth, and believe me, it is perfectly smooth, however, we got those stripes. So now what we're going to do is put another hood down here and try again. Okay, we refilled the gun. We've got a fresh hood with another black base. We checked the spray pattern, still looking good. Now this time what I'm going to do is I'm going to back up a little bit further. I'm going to go a little bit slower. And I'm going to make medium passes and let those medium passes overlap each other so that I'm still wetting out the surface, but I'm not creating those deep, heavy channels. Let's see how we do. So this hood's dry, let's see how we did. Now, as you can already tell, much better end result. Now, we still have a super smooth, slick finish because we did fully wet out. However, we didn't wet out so much, we didn't create those heavy pooling channels to where the metallics are gonna come together and create those heavy stripes. We've got a nice uniform finish, and this is only the first coat of the Performance Series, so it's actually gonna get even more solid as we go. Now, are we done? Not yet. We have one more thing to look at. So we ended up with two totally different end results. On this hood, we got lots of stripes, and on this hood, we were able to avoid those stripes using the technique that we learned today. Now, obviously, we want all of our hoods and all of our trunks and roofs to look like this one, and now that you know the technique, chances are a lot of you guys are going to nail it. But the question remains, what happens if you get these stripes? Is there any turning back? Is there any way to fix it? Well, let's see if the technique we learned over here can actually cover these stripes, help you fix them, and recover the project. So our coat is dry. Let's see how we did. It looks to me like our stripes are just about gone. All right, guys, so what did we learn today? How do we avoid tiger stripes and fix them if we get them? Well, first and foremost, make sure that your gun is clean and set up correctly. Test it before you spray, and if it needs to be adjusted, make sure you adjust it. Then when you do the horizontal surfaces, back up a little bit. Let the misting or let that medium coat wet out the surface. Keep those overlaps really tight as you go across. It's going to take longer, but in the long run, it's going to be much better and save you time because you won't get stripes on your horizontal surfaces, and you can move forward with your project and get a great end result. Now, if you want to dip your car, we have lots of different colors to choose from. Just click right up here. It'll bring you to our car kits. Pick whatever color you want, then pick the size of your vehicle, and it will include everything that you need. But if you have any questions at all, please don't hesitate to reach out to us. Chat with us directly on the website or call in during business hours. We love to talk to you guys about your projects. It's Fonzie. Hope you guys enjoyed the video today. I'll see you on the next one.